Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is not an optical illusion. We are not in two little windows. We're in one more roomy window. This is not CGI. This is not artificial intelligence. It's not any intelligence at all. It's really us here at the ballpark together. We got this guy off the couch.
Yeah, it's kind of nice out here, I have to say. I'm glad I came out, I must admit. It's harder to pay attention to the music though, even though it's much louder than it is in my living room. There's so many people around to visit with and schmooze with and hug and stuff that it's been hard to focus a little bit.
But then, of course, thanks to nugs.net, we get to go home and watch it all over again. And that's why we're here.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Gary, that I will get to go home and re-experience the whole thing on nugs.net. But I did keep an old school.
Yeah, hold it up there. Yeah, set list.
Written set list for you, friends. They started with Good Times. They did Hell in a Bucket. Fantastic Hell in a Bucket. It Hurts Me Too. Jack Straw into Big River. Cassidy. They Love Each Other 73 style. And Turn On Your Love Life.
Boy, oh boy.
Are you having fun?
I'm having so much fun. Again, like you said, running into old friends, lots of hugs, lots of ecstatic. I love looking up into the third deck and seeing the music reaching people up there, seeing people dancing all the way in the rafters.
I was just noticing that there's an unsold section on the other side that's obstructed view.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of people have spilled over into both decks up there. They're dancing in every, on every deck.
But of course, you at home have an unobstructed view. If you're watching the free preview, you can have an unobstructed view of the whole show if you go to nugs.net, and you can purchase the whole show, purchase the set you just missed, purchase the tour you just missed, and also you have an opportunity to think about subscribing to nugs.net, having access to downloads, audio downloads of this tour, of Dead and Company tours going back to 2016, and an incredible library of live music by all sorts of artists. A lot of jam band type specialists, but also artists from all over the stylistic map. We love nugs.net, and we love that they're letting us do this.
I also think it's true that one advantage of watching on Nugsnet is you can really pay close attention to what the musicians are doing. They do show little bits of the musicians on the big screens over here, but something about watching it on Nugs in the comfort of your home with your own stereo, and you can really see Jeff Chimenti playing the piano, and you can see John Mayer interacting. The Jeff and John hand musical lines back and forth all the time, and you can see it's really fun to watch them interact. That's one of the advantages of watching at home.
Right. So go to nugs.net. You can get a free trial to check out all its wares, and we think you will be very happy with what you see. Of course, if you've already subscribed for the whole tour, you're watching this as halftime, so you know all this already. But the rest of you might want to check it out. I think we should go to our interview. We were so lucky to get 3 incredible interviews to finish out this season of Dead Air. And this is the next one, a fairly recognizable individual who was delightful company as always. So we're going to say goodnight for now. We won't be back at the end of this. We're going to go back out and dance some more. And you do the same in your living room, okay? Let's go to the interview. Thanks, everybody. Good night. All right, here we are in the final weekend of the final tour, and whatever your opinion of final is, we'll figure that out later. But we're so happy to have joining us someone who has brought so much of the magic to this tour, Mickey Hart. Hey, Mickey.
Hey, how you doing, kids?
Hey, we're just having the time of our lives, man. I've watched every minute of this tour since Cornell, and it's just been mind-blowing, man. As I've said to the other guys, we ran out of superlatives a week or two ago.
Oh. Well, it's been fun. It's been, drama-free, just
good
whole time out there. Everybody's just in love with the music, and they're playing it like that. The band is really at top form. And having a blast every night.
And your wall of drums has been incredible. We've had so much fun watching you guys working that.
Well, yeah, that's quite impressive. Every night I go back there, it's in a different configuration. We come up with 31 different configurations. So every night is different, different theme every night. So
you mean the drums move around the thing so you can get to different ones? Oh, fabulous.
Oh, what happens is that we built it so it's compartmental. One thing can fit another thing can fit in the space of the thing that preceded it. And so all tour, we change it slightly over the 31 days. So
That's
when
so
you
great.
go back there, it's always different. And that means improvisation. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I love the most. A structure-free kind of environment really suits my sensibilities.
Yeah, and Mickey, when we talked to you at the very start of the tour in audio only form on Sirius, you gave a little preview of this thematic concept you wanted to bring to each different drum sequence each night of the tour, and damned if you didn't pull it off.
Well, not done. Tonight we'll do. I think it's the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, perfect.
The seismic readings from the bridge itself, and so I translated that vibration into sound. I brought it up into the spectrum where you could hear it and so forth. I brought it down, and that'll be the theme for tonight. So every night has been different, and again, just just a bunch of fun.
Just to pick one example, some nights I've heard this the drum thing begins with what sounds like the Gyuto monks, but it sort of seems to have been turned into an extended drone kind of. Is there like an audio loop that's based on the tone of the Gyuto monks or something? It's just a beautiful sound.
Yeah, well, the monks they vibrated around 70 cycles. That's their sonic low end, about 65, 70 cycles. And what you're hearing is the beam that that's where it lives down in that range. So the Pythagorean monochord is what you're hearing. But it's like the monks because it's a drone kind of sound, which is transcendent in a way. You
Yeah.
know,
And as I experienced with the monks when you brought them to Berkeley Community Theater, you can feel it in every cavity of your body. It
Yeah.
resonates all through you. You're not just hearing it. It's like it's so physical, so visceral.
Yeah, that's true. That's what the monks do. They get right inside of you and just put you into a whole other world. Very peaceful, very, sonically rewarding in many ways. You feel good after a good dose of the monks.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be hard pressed to pick, like favorite drum sequences from this tour because every one of them has just kind of knocked me out. But just to name a few, the very first night at Cornell, you had bird sounds
The birds,
with the
well,
cooperation.
the ornithology department at Cornell is fantastic.
Yeah,
It's amazing. So
yeah.
I got some of their bird sounds and turned them into musicological sense.
Right, and over the course of the tour, we heard bits of prepared piano a la John
Yeah.
Cage. We heard just oh, I was so glad you brought the horns back, the bulb
Oh yeah, I
horns
love those.
one night.
Yeah, the horns, yeah, the
Yeah,
honk horns, honk, honk, honk,
right,
honk.
right.
Yeah,
That was spectacular.
that was
And
spectacular.
and one thing that made me really happy was that you gave a nod to the beautiful instruments or works of art, works of sculpture that have been built for you over the years by Pete Engelhardt.
Yes, yes, Peter Engelhart, the master builder of bells and metal. Uh, Peter is a master of that. Yes, and I have many, many of his creations, and I
Can you
play
tell
them.
us a little more which ones you're talking about so the people watching this might be able to be on the
Well,
lookout for them in the second set?
they're small bells, and they're usually grouped in two and three and six and nine and so forth. And they're tuned specifically to notes as opposed to bells, which most bells just are dissonant. They don't really have necessarily a tone. Some of them do, some of them don't, but they give off an array of frequencies that is really spectacular because Peters knows how to forge the metal, and and he's very famous for it. He's done a lot of work with Airto over the years, and I just treasure all of those little musical creations of his.
Yeah, you know, some of what you've been doing seems almost like a culmination of what started with Francis Coppola getting you to do that score to Apocalypse Now, which also sort of engendered the expansion of the sonic palette of the Rhythm Devils. You started adding more and more sounds. It stopped being two guys. It stopped being two guys behind a trap kit, and you just opened up the whole percussive universe, and it's really it's reached its pinnacle here, I think.
Yeah, it's as good as it's ever been. It's so together. I have an incredible crew, and kudos to them. They really the ones that are pulling it off, putting it all together. We took months, and also the visuals on the screens were months in preparation. So this was not a casual kind of improvisation. We really worked at it, made it as good as it possibly can be. And this year,
Yeah, it shows, and it's sonically available in every corner of every venue you've played. This is one of my little obsessions is to go way up to the rafters of venues and go all the way to the sides. Derek Featherstone's been doing a magnificent job at every show,
oh yeah,
and
yes,
so way in the top deck of City Field, I was still feeling the drums in my chest, and also hearing the nuances. Like when you're just playing something as delicate as the balafon,
yeah.
that's getting up there too, to the farthest reaches. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I remember back in the old days in Winterland, Jerry and I used to go way up to the very, very top, and listen, especially to Quicksilver Messenger Service with John Cipollina and so forth. We used to go out way up at the top, and that's where it sounded the best. Just at the last possible seat.
That's
And in those days, you can go into the audience and nobody would bother you or anything.
yeah.
You're just another person listening to the music. And so,
That's
yeah,
where I saw my first Grateful Dead show was from the last row of Winterland up there in the ceiling. So
that's
so
it.
I picked the sweet spot without knowing it.
That's the sweet spot. We could go up there and just listen to the bands. It was just a wonderful place. It all came together when we played in Haight Street back in the day, '69, I guess '68. The whole street was lined with people. Eventually showed up, but the best spot was on the top of the roofs of the buildings where a cassette was made, and it was perfect. It just who would have thought that on top of a 15-story building, somebody with a cassette machine actually was able to capture the
Actually,
magic.
kind of makes sense. Instead, less crowd noise when you're up there.
Yeah, exactly. But it somehow all the sounds came together in one sweet spot, like you said. You never can tell where those spots are, so you just have to keep foraging for them.
That brings up a thing that a lot of the people in our audience might appreciate hearing about your days as a taper. Mert and that famous time you tried to sneak into the zoo. And you want to tell some stories about those days?
Oh yeah, well those were the humble beginnings of my recordist career. That was with Bob, and back in the day, '67 or something like that. And Bob had a incredible idea of let's go to the zoo at 12, at midnight on the full moon. All the animals will be singing, and let's record that. And I thought, wow, how cool! What an interesting thought. So I went to Owsley's house to pick up his Nagra, and he gave me 40 feet of mic line for a 2 foot job, of course. So I can't. So Bob and I climbed the gates at the Golden Gate at the zoo, and I got impaled on the mic lines got impaled on the gate. Guards came over with their flashlights and guns and whatever, and they just grabbed us and they escorted us out of the zoo, and it was a total failure. And I turned around at the end and walked, and Bob and I were walking out, and the animals were totally silent. I said, "Oh my God, Bob, you monster! We did all of this, and they didn't even, there was not a peep out of." But that was my first recording expedition, and it was one of my only failures, actually, in the field. Thanks, Bob. But that started all of the recording, and you can hear all of it at the Mickey Hart collection at the Smithsonian Folkways. It's all there, but not all there. We got 20, 30 of them. But all my recordings from around the world, the monks included, all kinds of incredible recordings. that that I, that I ran into over the years. So yeah, it was really quite a run. Um, and now my daughter is going to Columbia to record some music, and it just continues on. The idea of preservation of music is so really
Yeah.
important, of indigenous musics from around the world. They're dying just like species are dying, falling off
Yep.
the edge of the world. And just to capture them and preserve them and allow the next generations to be able to see inside these musics is really precious. And I've, you know, I've really had my cup full.
Yeah, and in addition to being a recordist yourself, you also did a tremendous amount of work with the Smithsonian Library of Congress preserving historic recordings, like the Fonsstock brothers
Yes.
expeditions to record gamelan and all of that.
Music for the gods. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and and you're also that music also gets incorporated. There's a lot of gamelan in what you're playing,
Yes.
every night, and there's as I said before, the balafon, and like some of the most ancient instruments are co-starring with the most high-tech stuff you can possibly imagine. It's really beautiful.
Yeah,
Well,
right. And O'Teal with that banjo bass, that's been a lot of
Oh,
fun.
yeah,
so
the
great.
banjo bass, that's a whole other, instrument because it has a vibrating membrane, just like a
Right.
banjo. And,
Yeah.
O'Teal is master. Uh, and it's having, so much fun playing with the banjo bass and the balafon. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
at the beginning of rhythm levels. Yeah,
lovely
so
combination.
that's been every night, well, not every night, every few nights we'll break it out.
Yeah. And the interaction between you and O'Teal and you and O'Teal and Jay
Oh
has
yeah.
been so palpably joyous. The fun you're having up there while, invoking the spirits and doing some pretty serious spiritual work, you're also having a ball, and we're all having a ball in the audience watching because there's so much joy coming off that stage during those segments as well as during the show. I think you've done some of the greatest playing ever heard you do from behind the kit as well. You and Jay have really entrained in a
Yeah.
beautiful way. He's spoken of how you've mentored him and really taught him a lot about
Yeah.
about how this music works. About how this kind of ensemble playing works, and he's expressed tremendous gratitude to you for that.
Oh, well, he's a great student. I mean, he really absorbs it. The intricacies of Grateful Dead music only are known by us, unless we pass them down. And that's what's happening here with Jay. He's learning, the feels and the fills and the thises and all the
Yeah.
intricacies of Grateful Dead music. So, yeah, it's really been a joy playing with them. We are entrained, and so the bass and drums are really locked and
Yeah.
just really so easy to play with them. Uh, and that makes it fun for me. And also, it brings the band up. It drives them hard.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed, and we've commented on this often and discussed it with the other musicians, is that what the younger guys bring to the band, they have a whole other set of musical experience and a whole other frame of reference. So, Jay having been raised in like ska and funk and all these musics that weren't even around when the Grateful Dead were happening,
Yeah.
O'Teal, the kind of pocket he plays in, what John does, what Jeff does harmonically to the music, it changes the music, and it inspires you and Bob to do new things too.
Yeah, absolutely. Bob is at peak powers. Bob is playing, singing. Great tempos are up, uh, and we're steaming through it. We've had a great tour.
It's
Can't wait for these next three shows.
Yeah,
Uh,
at home. Yeah,
you know, just put a period at the end of this sentence at least.
Yeah.
right.
Well,
But the larger novel will continue to be written, I think.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the fans just really want it. They want that Grateful Dead experience. That's really where it's at. And that's home for them. And without it, they're not as fulfilled in life. They really feel it. It's transcended to them, and they keep coming. And our recordings are selling more than they've ever sold. So there's a need in the community for this kind of music and this kind of experience, really. People getting together and being who they want to be. and with others that have the similar notion. So it's also fun, if you can have fun in your work and commit to every beat, every groove, like you really mean it, and it's not like something you played, 2,000 times or something. Then you,
Commit is a great word in this context because that I feel that commitment. I feel that, Phil used to talk about the band performing as the fingers on a hand. And I get that sense that the human gestalt is really functioning well among all of you guys. And because we're watching it on Nugs, we get to see your faces and your hands at work a lot. And it's just been spectacular. The audio mixes are terrific, of course, but getting to watch you guys work and occasionally getting to see you guys interacting with each other visually on stage has just been a real treat. You can see the energy flowing among the musicians. It's great.
yeah, that's a good point. That's really what's happening now. The music is fluid now. Somehow maybe it took us 8 years to be able to get to this place. It's not easy to play Grateful Dead music, real Grateful Dead music, but when you can do it, it's really spectacular. You really can have such great fun, and you're interacting with the audience all the time, so they're committing their energy, and we are as well. So it's a give and take all night. We give it to them, they give it back to us. We give it to them, they give
Yeah.
it to us, and you can feel these waves of energy. And it's lighthearted in some ways, but committed, which makes it very serious as well on another level of of what we really try to do to people to raise consciousness is really what it's all about, and they dance to it. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's the dance of life and death.
Well, it's a full spectrum experience, it turns out, because some people are having this joyous, ecstatic moment of dancing while somebody else is having a life changing meditation in the middle of it. I remember one of Rebecca Adams' students back in 1989 saying, you could walk out of a Grateful Dead show a whole different person. And that was always a possibility.
Yeah, well, that's really well said. I do. I'm never the same after I play. And it takes me a while to come down after the shows. Um, and then I go back up next day, but I retain some of what happened that night. You don't lose it completely, even when you come down from that high. You still are different. You've changed. Your brain waves are different. You just are different, slightly different person. Yeah, if you listen and if you commit to that experience, then you come away with this kind of nourishment, uh,
Yeah.
kind of thing that makes you happier, better person. Maybe you do things in your life that you might not have done before you've gone to the concert, of something of kindness or some kind of something that improves the human condition, which is really what
Yeah.
this band does. It does do that.
Yeah.
Some music does do that. Some music is just for entertainment. This kind of music uh, is on the borders of the edge of spirituality,
I
and
really hate to
And
say this, but we have run out of time. We're 20 minutes
yeah.
into our 20-minute time
Yeah.
slot here. We have to
well,
end this.
I'll just keep the break a little longer.
There. See, now you're
Hey,
talking.
Bob.
You have the
Hey,
you have the
my
power to do that.
interview. The interview is happening, Bob. Cool it. We'll just.
I like the way you think, sir.
Hey,
Let me
great
just
to talk to you guys.
in parting, Mickey, relating to what you were just talking about, I had the pleasure of interviewing a friend of yours, the great Charles Lloyd, and talking about his experiences with the Grateful Dead in the late '60s in San
Okay.
Francisco. And at the end of the interview, I said to him, I just told him I wanted to thank him for the 50 years of joy and inspiration he'd given me, and he said, "It's my service." And I've always thought of you as someone who sees what you do as a service and not a career or a job, and
Oh,
so I can only say, sir, thank you for your service.
thank you, Garrett. Thank you, David.
Great to see you, Mick. Thank you so much, man. It's been a great
Yeah.
tour. Thank you.
Thanks for asking. Carry on, man.
See you at the ballpark.
Bye bye.
Don't you let that deep